Welcome to Milk Market Tidbit for the July Federal Milk Marketing Order data that USDA released in the last few days here. And this is Dr. Lawrence Jones, and I'm recording this on August the 18th. So overall, the statistical uniform prices decreased about 82 cents to 19.18, and there was still extremely high Class 4 depooling. So Class 4 was coming out and Class 3 was coming back in. Because of that depooling and potentially some other things, I think the federal milk marketing data is actually down, and production is also down just a little bit, which is not unusual for July. In fact, came down about 4 ticks again, which is not unusual for July. The highest statistical uniform price was in the southeast. Florida in particular was $26.79, and the lowest is Minnesota, Wisconsin, which lives and dies by Class 3. They were at $16.40. There was a broad swath of 18s and then a broad swath of 20s along the East Coast here. As I said, the statistical uniform price came down 82 cents off of that $20 mark. Class 1 was down 85 cents. Class 2 was down 89 cents. Class 3 was down the least at 46. And Class 4 was down the most at 262. And there was a $2.82 difference between 3 and 4, which is why 4 is leaving the market and Class 3 is coming back in. The biggest decrease was Arizona at 202. Southeast was in that 85 cents plus or minus a little bit because they're high Class 1. And then, of course, Minnesota, Wisconsin was at 46 cents where Class 3 was. What I like to look at is how did milk production change. Now, this is a little bit hard with some of the different changes in depooling. But again, overall, it was down 0.76%, so not very much, and that's exactly about where the Northeast is, and that's kind of the bellwether of telling us where milk production is because they don't do any depooling at all. A couple of these areas came up, and again, I think that's because Class 3 came back in, and then the Southeast more or less was down because that's where the heat was on pretty good. This is a plot of pounds of milk overall, so again, we've got the total milk coming down just a little bit. We can see where Class 3 is coming up because it's coming back into the pool. Class 1 is declining just a little bit. You cannot depool Class 1. And Class 4 is pretty close to zero here. So out of this, I try to estimate what the July milk production report would say. So right now, I'm at 97.8% of the previous month. Now, I think that estimate is probably a little bit on the low side. I think it's going to be a little bit higher than that, but again, that's where my numbers are coming in right at the moment, and that's at 1.1% year-over-year increase. And out of this, I've got milk per cow coming down about 1.5 pounds, increasing about 4,000 cows. This is how I see the dynamics coming together there. Class 1 utilization was down a little bit. There was 25 last month, 24. 4. That always happens in the summertime because the schools shut down, the colleges shut down. But our highest Class 1 is always in the southeast, and our lowest is Minnesota, Wisconsin at 5.8. When I plot out the individual Class 3, kind of what I'd like to do is find out what I think our overall capacity is. We've not wiped that out yet. I'm kind of surprised with building these new plants. I'm expecting this to actually go above that, the orange line here at some point. But right now we're down about 3% off of that maximum capacity. So again, you can see where Class 3 is basically all in the pool. Highest Class 3 utilization is Minnesota, Wisconsin. As I said, they live and die on Class 3. Southeast is always pretty low just because they're all Class 1. And the only place that changed kind of double digits is Arizona. They increased 14 ticks. Class 4 is just the opposite. You can see where we're just really have taken that out. We've depooled that pretty heavily. Our highest Class 4 is Arizona at almost 25%, and none of the areas changed in double digits. I would say that Arizona probably changed the greatest at reducing about 6 ticks. Fat values came down 4 ticks. Nobody can really touch the Northwest. They're very high at 436. Florida's under 4, as is Order 5 has slipped under 4 this month. Protein still is relatively strong, but again, the Northwest is the strongest at 342. Minnesota, Wisconsin is the lowest at 318, right in line there with the Northeast at 319. So this last week we had the statistical uniform prices. They came out finally all on Friday. Now this week we've got global dairy trade today, and we've got the advanced prices coming out on Wednesday, and then the milk production report on Friday, which will be the next milk market tidbit.